Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. Today I'm going to be talking about Wes Craven's 1984 smash horror hit, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And when teenager Nancy Thompson first learns that she and her best friend Tina are both having eerily similar nightmares of being stalked by a disfigured man who wears a red and green sweater and has knives for fingers, she thinks it's strange and eerie, but not anything to actually worry about. These are just dreams, after all. But then Tina is savagely murdered, her body flayed open by claw like knives. And while the police naturally don't believe Tina's boyfriend when he claims that an invisible assailant carved up the young woman, Nancy has reason to believe that there might quite literally be a nightmarish monster stalking her through her dreams. Of course, believing that your nightmares could really kill you is one thing. Getting anyone else to believe you is quite another. And even if Nancy can find help in what may well be a life and death struggle, what can she really do to fight back against the monster in her dreams? So, in 1984, New Line Cinema was a small independent film company, best known for producing John Waters' transgressive comedy films and for distributing international genre films within the US. Very much a small fish in the big Hollywood ocean. 10 years later, the company was bought by Turner Broadcasting for $500 million. So what happened? This movie happened. That's what. Produced on a budget of around $1 million, A Nightmare on Elm Street brought in over 50 times that at the worldwide box office. And unlike most horror movies, it wasn't just a commercial success, it even got pretty good reviews. 6 sequels and a spin off TV show all followed in the subsequent decade, and while the franchise was clearly running out of box office steam by 1994, the many millions of dollars brought in by Elm Street and its iconic villain, Freddy Krueger, transformed New Line Cinema into a significant player. Now, I've got to admit, I was never really an Elm Street guy. When I got into horror films, which was in the late 80s off the back of Aliens, I was much more a Friday the 13th aficionado. I saw the various nightmares, but after doing so, I didn't really revisit them. Having just rewatched the original movie for the first time in over 35 years, I think young me missed a trick. I'm not 100% sold on the film's finale, but otherwise, this is a genuinely good horror movie, and I had a great time watching it. Let's talk about some of the reasons why. And the first of those reasons is Nancy Thompson. She's a great protagonist, brave, smart, proactive. Now, it's certainly true that a factor in this is structural. Nancy becomes aware of the threat to her life much earlier than most horror movie final girls. Think of Laurie Strode in Halloween or Alice in Friday the 13th. They're just living their ordinary everyday lives most of the movie, and only in the final act do they even realise they're in danger. Nancy learns she's at risk a lot earlier and consequently has much more time to react to the threat. But that structural advantage could easily have been squandered with an insipid, inert leading lady. Fortunately, Craven's script avoids that problem. Nancy is feisty and resourceful without undermining the jeopardy of her situation. It's a good balancing act. And Heather Langenkamp also deserves credit for her performance in the role. I'm now keen to revisit the later nightmares in which she appeared and see how she does in those as well. Now, I love old school practical effects. I'd much rather watch a Ray Harryhausen stop motion monster or the latex and motors menace of John Carpenter's The Thing than many of today's CGI offerings. As a case in point, we watched The Mandalorian and Grogu just recently, which had a host of, really nicely designed alien and robots. I'll give them that. Like, the designs were great. The animation was good, but the only time I geeked out about any of them was in a scene where they'd obviously spent time and effort to make the movement of 2 large robots feel just like the stop motion of the AT-ATs from Empire Strikes Back, which is a lovely bit of nerdery. In any case, I love old school practical effects, and as a 40-year-old movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street, naturally, is all school practical effects. Really well done ones at that. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to mean they're especially complex, mind you. In fact, I think the 2 most iconic effect scenes in the movie basically boil down to let's build an upside down set and then also flip the camera upside down so it looks like it's the right way up. But simple things like that can still be highly effective, and these are well worth checking out. Now, over the course of the Elm Street franchise, Freddy Krueger became almost an affable slasher. I mean, he's still going to kill you, but he'll do so in some baroque, fantastical manner, and he'll probably make some kind of ironic quip while he does it. The character became the host of an anthology TV series, Freddy's Nightmares, kind of like a scabby, gleefully murderous version of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and ultimately Freddy became so sanitised that there were Freddy Krueger lunchboxes for kids to take to school. Now, much like the popular image of Jason Voorhees as a masked undead killer, this version of the character is very much a product of later movies in the franchise. The Freddy in this first Nightmare movie is a brutal killer and something of a bully. While he does talk, he does so pretty much only to taunt and threaten. He's a nasty piece of work, all jagged edges and menace, and all the more effective for it. So yeah, A Nightmare on Elm Street is a good horror movie, and it's recently been announced that after a 16-year hiatus since the last offering, New Line are planning a new Nightmare film. If they can do something that in any way comes close to living up to the original, it'll be well worth a watch. Next time, not all 80s movies were this kind of quality, of course, and a case in point is the 1985 fantasy adventure film Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. But that is next time. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you've seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, let me know what you thought of it.